I'm going to start with a poem tonight. It's entitled Late March, but it's okay, even though it's only March 10th. I think with the change, the push-up of the season, this could be late March, the way the daffodils are blooming. So if you'd like to just listen, these are the words of Richard Schiffman, a poet. Again, the trees remembered to make leaves. In the forest of their recollection, many birds returned singing. They sang because they forgave themselves the winter and all that remained still bitter. Yet it was early spring when the days were touch and go, and a late snow could nip a shoot or freeze a fledgling in its nest. And where would we be then? But that's not the point. Do you think that the magpie doesn't know that its chicks are at risk? Or the peach trees, their two frail blossoms? The new awakened bees, all that is incipient within us? We know, but we can't help ourselves any more than they can, any more than the earth can stop hurtling through the night of its own absence. Must be something in the sap, the blood, a force like gravity, a trick called memory. You name it, or leave it nameless. That's better. How something returns and keeps on returning through a gap, through a dimensional gate, through a tear in the veil, another spring, to woo loss into song. The title of tonight's talk is Don't Know Mind. Don't know mind. Don't know is pretty prevalent right now with the coronavirus, COVID-19. There's so much we don't know exactly how to respond. Some of us may even have wondered about coming here tonight. Anybody have that little question? Yeah, thank you. A couple of us, several of us were like going, yeah, we do this? By the way, I meant to say earlier that please, for next Tuesday, in the event that events change, circumstances change, take a look at the website before you show up here on Tuesday night. And make sure we have your email at the back of the room. So we don't know exactly how to respond. Sometimes we're consumed by planning like, what do I need to do? What do I need to stock up on? How do I need to prepare? Where and when do I move about? At work, in town, traveling, with human interaction? Because the mind likes certainty. We crave a degree of knowing. Because it's a lot easier to plan to act when we have some degree of knowing. And this is actually kind of a wonderful time to notice don't know mind when we don't know. How is it that we respond? What arises? What comes up? So the don't know of current events provided the impetus for this talk. Don't know, or what's called beginner's mind, offers an opportunity for us to consider this phrase from another perspective, and that is from a Buddhist understanding of don't know mind. And just to reiterate, don't know isn't the same as confusion or debilitating doubt, which is what's arisen lately for some. These states, confusion and doubt, are generally involuntary. So we don't cultivate those. They arise. They're obstacles to clarity. And with both of them, the mind tends to be either agitated or contracted, one of the two, with hesitation, with indecision. So not knowing doesn't mean that we don't know, which sounds a bit confusing. It doesn't require us to forget everything that we have known or to suspend all interpretations of a situation. Don't know mind, the beginner's mind, is a question of openness, of starting over again, of questioning what's true. And ironically, sometimes we don't know. We don't know what the truth is. So the question at that point then becomes, well, what can I depend upon? Where do I go from here? And is it possible to proceed with don't know mind, with not knowing? Can we really live from that? So what does it mean to not know? What is this practice of beginner's mind or don't know mind? Because as we said earlier, the bias is towards knowing. We want to know. And we often think we do know. And we think that others who think they know gives us some sort of degree of certainty, or at least a notion about what direction we can move in. And all the signals from all around us tell us all the time that we're supposed to know. If you don't know, you haven't done enough research, you haven't looked in the right places, you haven't. And the radical teaching here is we don't really know. Maybe you've heard this joke. Two superheroes, Batman and Superman, walk into a bar. Sit down. Batman says to Superman, "It's exhausting. You take down one arch enemy and a new one pops right up." And Superman responds, "I hear you. If it's not crypt tonight, it's crypt tomorrow." So even the superheroes can be baffled. How is it that we manage to balance between wise action, pausing, practices of resting with a non-conceptual don't know mind? So the practices of energy, of movement, of wise action, wise speech, of thinking, making judgments, they're obviously essential to living in this world, in the relative world at least, and to skillfully supporting yourself and others. So we might recall that some of these wise practices include those of gratitude or loving kindness or wise speech, and how we balance those with pausing, with investigating don't know mind is really the challenge right now, and always. So one example of some of the wise practices that have been advised in this time is to sing happy birthday while you're washing your hands for those 20 seconds. And so many of us are doing that so frequently now. I actually thought, okay, so what I'm going to do is sing happy birthday to a new person every time I wash my hands. So for those of you who have March birthdays, some of you are sitting in this room, I've sung happy birthday to you several times. And it is a real joy to think of this individual, to see their countenance, and to think about a time that I've been together with that person. And there's real joy in this practice that has become more commonplace. So not knowing means not being limited by what we do know, or holding that which we know lightly enough so that we can be ready for it to change or be different. Maybe things are this way, maybe they're not. So, does anybody notice any fear arising with the events currently? Yeah. Fear, anxiety tend to arise with a lot of not knowing, the uncertainty. One consideration might be that because this fear may be linked to mortality, is to consider, what about when we consider death directly? We often live as if we were fairly certain about things that are inherently uncertain. How would we live if we were to fully acknowledge that degree of uncertainty? And the thing about Buddhism is that at its heart, it's not about answering those questions, but about resolving the fear, the anxiety that arises with those questions, that motivates those questions. So the practice really calls on us to become free from attachment to security, free from what we can feel is this sort of tenacious clinging to knowing or to wanting to know. So we're really trying to figure out, how can I be a little bit more free of the need to know right now? So one way that we might practice is to know our thoughts, to just see the arising of our thoughts. What is the pattern? How does one thought spill over into the next one, next one, next one? What is the train? What is the pattern of our thinking? When we do that, we're not transcending thinking itself. We're just beginning to notice what's our conditioning, what are our patterns of thinking, what around what's true and what's not, what's right, what's wrong. Can we see our thoughts just as thoughts and see the underlying belief that may have led to that thought and allow that to be, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. So one of the things we're talking about here is becoming emotionally flexible so that we could see potential or other possibilities. So again, don't know mind doesn't mean mindlessness or being naive or obtuse. It really means, can I respond with, what is this? How is this? This thought, this feeling state, this experience. In asking that question, what is this or what is it that's arising, our eyes open a little wider and there's some energy available rather than the contraction that often comes with fear or anxiety or a sense of a belief that's so strong it's got us stuck or held in place. So then we can begin to wonder what, rather than, oh yeah, I know that, I got that, or it's like that. Another way to practice not knowing is to add this phrase to every thought. I don't know. I don't know. So this can be effective in meditation when the mind is quieted down, and maybe you've had that experience of just in the pause in meditating, if a judgment arises, for example, wow, this meditation is going great. Or this is terrible, I am no good at this. Can you respond with, I don't know. Don't know. Or the thoughts that come up again in meditation with, I can't do this, I can't manage this, I need, or I am, with the words, I don't know. I don't know. Remember that bumper sticker that said, question authority? Are you old enough to remember that one? Question authority? Okay. So the phrase, I don't know, questions the authority of everything we think. Everything we think. Repeating the words, I don't know, allows us to question really tightly held ideas. It's always like that. She's always like this. I don't know can pull the rug out from under our most cherished beliefs. All too often we don't question those beliefs. But since virtually every train of thought has some implicit belief, when we question our thoughts, we can take a look at those beliefs. Notice what they are. Don't know can always also be directed at the motivations that lead us to act. Gil Fronsdale gives a wonderful example of noticing his need to be liked and how much his behavior was driven by a need to be liked. So, not sure any of us could identify with that one, but the need to be liked. Is it important to have people like me? Don't know. I don't know. Don't know. Repeated regularly, this phrase becomes like a mantra in response to what we think or what we're believing. And actually, what it does is it sort of creates a space. It opens up a space that in the mind, there's a sense of things letting loose a little bit, relaxing a little bit, and seeing what else arises, what else might be possible. So this little phrase of don't know can be very powerful when used repeatedly. One writer says that not knowing can be used as a sword to cut through all the ways that the mind clings. So the question might be, can we wield this sword until the mind lets go of itself and finally knows ultimate freedom? Most of the time, we're looking through a concept or a construct based on a belief. And we tend to, in those moments, lose the immediacy of our lives. We're caught in some projection or some memory, so future, past. We're not here, right, present right now. So if we learn to let go into uncertainty, don't know mind, to trust that our basic nature and that of the rest of the world are not fundamentally different, then the fact that things aren't solid and fixed becomes a liberating opportunity rather than a threat. So what's most essential isn't understood through the filter of our judgments or past knowledge or memories. The invitation of don't know mind leads us into another world, a deeper world of possibility. What else is possible? And the practice of opening up to whatever appears allows us to develop some skills to respond to anything. So instead of fighting or freezing or fleeing in the face of a challenge, we develop this nervous system that has the capacity to stay, to listen, and to then make an informed decision. So for some of us, it's a matter of sometimes finding a place to pause, to truly rest in the non-stop, relentless cycle of news, for example. Don't know mind is characterized by curiosity, by wonder, by awe, surprise. It's a little hard to have that when we're constantly engaged. We do need a chance to pull back, rest. Don't know mind is an opportunity to approach every situation as if you had no biases. Not an invitation to ignorance. It just has to do with softening the rigidity of belief, of staying open to potentials, to possibilities, with the knowledge or the trust that potential is always at hand. I want to put in a plug for Mother Nature as a way to pause and to rest. And lucky for us, it's March and the season is upon us and spring is happening. And just to get outside without your device and listen and look. And I didn't hear them tonight, but the spring peepers that are always sounding out there across the road. See if you hear them tonight when you walk out. The daffodils, full bloom. All the perennials are coming up, little buds just poking, peonies, everything poking up through the ground. Bird song, huge now. It's just everybody's singing. Just to walk out and be in the immediacy of that, to allow your mind some release. No comparing, not searching for facts or what's next. So, change, unstoppable. New life here, now. How are we responding to it? Can we bring don't know mind to it? So I invite you to sit back in your chair, get comfortable. I'm just going to do a little meditation on don't know mind. So let the eyes close if that feels all right for you in this moment, and if not, you can just have the gaze directed downwardly, softly. Feel your sit bones on the chair, your hands wherever they're resting. Your breath coming and going. Aware of the pauses, the spaces between in-breath and out-breath. Between one thought ending, the next one arising. The spaces between sounds. When you feel a little bit settled, for a moment imagine a time 10 years ahead, the year 2025. Recognize that you don't know what will happen then, and feel the not knowing. What's it like to be with not knowing? Can there be some ease with it? In the body, in the mind. Think for a moment of the earth spinning through space, with thousands of people being born and dying every day. Not knowing where does each life come from? How did it begin? Feel the truth of don't know mind. Can you relax and be comfortable with don't know mind? And now bring to mind a conflict, an inner one or outer one. a small one or one that's been niggling for a while. Be aware of all the thoughts and the opinions that you have about how it should be, or about how others should be. Noticing those thoughts. And now recognize that you don't really know. Maybe the wrong thing will lead to something better. We don't know. Don't know. Consider how it would be to approach yourself or the situation, other people with don't know mind. Feel it in the body. Not sure. No fixed opinion. Don't know. Allow yourself to want to understand anew. Approaching it with don't know mind. With openness. What? What is this? How does don't know mind affect the situation of conflict? Can you be comfortable here resting in uncertainty? Don't know. Coming back to the body, sitting here, breathing. Stand by the river. Invoke the owls. Invoke winter and then spring. Let any season that wants to come here to make its own call. After that sound goes away, wait. A slow bubble rises through the earth and begins to include sky, stars, all space, even the outracing, expanding thought. Come back and hear the little sound again. Suddenly, this dream you are having matches everyone's dream, and the result is the world. If a different call came, there wouldn't be any world or you or the river or the owls calling. How you stand here is important. How you listen for the next things to happen. How you breathe. Thank you for coming tonight, for your presence and your practice.